Nintendo release a trailer that isn't during work hours challenge. Impossible. How's it going, everyone? K-Jewelers here with a bit of an update on the upcoming Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. Earlier today, we received a new trailer highlighting the game, some changes coming to it, and a brief look at the new story content following the main story's events. I'm going to make this video more casual in tone, and just talk about the aspects that I'm excited for, as well as a couple early thoughts on potential story directions that this new content could take. There were also a series of videos that were on the website detailing combat, as well as changes to avatar customization, but for the most part, it's pretty similar. I think there's like a couple new haircuts and such, like a Mithra one, but I'm mainly going to focus on this 3.5-minute trailer. So, for starters, let's get the big one out of the way. And I do mean big because, dear God, I can read the font. Sound the alarms, the game is playable. On a serious note, the entire UI appears to be overhauled to include much clearer information and a larger font. There also seems to be an improved quest wayfinder like that found in Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, but expanded with a ball you can follow toward an objective, as well as the returning exclamation point markers. Also, this game just looks gorgeous. Like, this shot is beautiful. This is one of my favorite shots from the original, and I'm glad that it just looks even better here. Xenoblade X always had a unique flair to it and very creative environments, so I'm excited to see them in a higher graphical quality. Also, I feel like J.J. Abrams was called on board because it looks like they cranked up the lens flares here. Regarding other UI changes, it seems like they heard the criticisms about Overdrive's complexity because they now have an on-screen guide similar to Xenoblade 2's Blade Combo one. That way, players can more easily follow the combo they want by using the appropriately colored arts. As somebody who personally struggled with abusing Overdrive, that is so appreciated and should be a big game changer. However, I'm not necessarily the guy when it comes to gameplay. I will leave that for other people, so let's change gears to focus more on the new narrative additions. Pretty much everything that I'm about to share from here on out comes from the unidentified material section in the Xenoblade Chronicles X, The Secret File Art of Mira book. I will have images on screen for comparison's sake, but I will also list the page numbers in case you would like to take a personal look at these materials afterwards. Just before the 2-minute mark, we get a look at our first new character, as well as their Skell, who appears to be Jacko from Guilty Gear. She's a part of Blade at the very least. We can see that their Skell is actually adapted from this one seen on pages 268 and 269 with the same cylindrical shoulder and back boosters, the sword with ornaments dangling from the sheath, and the same coloration. It's honestly a nearly identical adaptation from the concept art, with the only change being that this seemed to originally be for the Black Knight, not this new character. I know there were theories that these boosters shared similarities to Origin, but I personally feel this puts that to rest. Unless you consider another tidbit later on that we're gonna get to. The text next to the Skell says that the sword is Rothian, or belonging to the cat-like race that God Gearg is from. My assumption would be that this new character will be a recruitable character like Mia, Baze-Laus, and so on. I'd like to be clear that I do not think anything shown before the new story content in the last 20-ish seconds of the trailer will be fundamental changes to X's core narrative. In a similar vein to the original Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, I feel the story will be practically untouched, and characters like these will be merely tied to side quests, which is something it would have over the original Definitive Edition. Moving on to about 2.5 minutes into the trailer, we get a look at another new character with strange markings on her face and feathery ears, the same ones that Celica also has, which would make this character a Clarian. Although I don't believe much is known about their race, there's concept art of a cut character that was also Clarian found on page 265 of the art book, who goes by the name of Neilnail, and shares some qualities with this new character like the blonde hair, a popped collar with a necklace, and face markings. However, what's also interesting is that there are two Skells called Neilnail Albus and Fervis that appear in a squad mission called the Unknown Threat. I won't lie, I didn't really do squad missions when I played the original Xenoblade Chronicles X, so this was new information to me, but perhaps we can conclude that the face connected to these Skells has finally been unmasked, and will potentially be getting more screen time in more side quests. Although it does seem to take off without them, so I'm not exactly sure what that implies, if there's like a remote mode, or maybe this is just Claran technology. It's really to be determined. After some more scenes that depict moments later in the plot, we finally come to the most exciting bit, which is the segment at the end showcasing the expanded story to X's Definitive Edition, just like Future Connected was for the original title. We get a better look at the hooded figure that approached Lau, who seems to have short white hair. Due to the framing of shots and this dialogue,
people still need me. Humanity still needs me.
This mysterious individual seems to be the pilot behind this Skell that is blitzing through a wave of aliens. Now, this Skell is actually a familiar sight. In X's introduction, Lin mentions how a lone hero defended New LA and the White Whale from the alien onslaught as they fled from Earth. That warrior Skell is this same one. This is further supported by...
That Skell!
You're still alive?
Not to mention, I noted how his attire looked just like Lau's Pathfinder garb in the last analysis, and that would make sense for a member of that faction to defend his arc from this alien onslaught. Just to clarify, these aliens I have been mentioning are the Ghosts, one of the factions that engulfed the Earth in their battle and chased them toward Mira. Apparently, they also found themselves on Mira, as the expanded story scenes seem to show. But hold on just a damn second. Zoom and enhance on that. Is that a bloody Ouroboros core? Well, yes, it looks exactly like one, and the color scheme matches to a T. However, this Skell also looks like an armored version of the Skell shown on page 266 of the art book. Same coloration included. According to the art book, it's called Ares, different from the Prague Ares that is fought later in the narrative. Strangely enough, there are details omitted in the text, including who the pilot is. Now, this very well could just be a coincidence that it has so much in common with the Ouroboros form, and is simply just making good on that design that was in the unidentified materials section. Or, we could just say, let the shackles be released and, go full Fury mode and say, oh my gosh, this connects Xenoblade Chronicles 3 to Xenoblade X. Personally, I am trying to temper my expectations. I don't want to go too fully crazy and be like, oh my gosh, we're gonna find out all these crazy connections, and it's gonna be minimal at best. I personally feel that they are just making good on the art book because an Ouroboros or Mobius core look spherical like Origin, while these ones often look like two rings closely attached. It's just not a perfect match. Also, I find it interesting that the Ghosts have similar color schemes and interior gears to the Ares mech. Again, very well could just be a coincidence because I feel like the only time they would have had the ability to work with Ghost technology to make a new Skell would have been in that period between their fleeing of Earth and the arrival on Mira. And I feel that saying they worked with Ghost technology would have been probably pretty important to the last Xenoblade Chronicles X. Although I do personally subscribe to the notion that there is some sort of connection between X and the numbered titles simply due to the rather frequent and on-the-nose references to Xenoblade Chronicles 1 that are in the original X story mode. No matter how you shake it, this Skell and its pilot seem to be extremely significant to the human and ghost war, as well as this story expansion, so we'll just have to see what happens. We are also gifted with a look at what appears to be the location for this story expansion, a new continent that floats in the air and has been painted with vibrant greens and browns. The islands also have a clean-cut, blocky nature to their undersides, which strikes me as somewhat similar to a sketch found at the bottom of page 272. There's also this peculiar floating tower in the center of this continent that emits these strange lights that seem to surround the land. Perhaps it signifies that this continent is detached from the rest of the Mira we know, or maybe it's some sort of space-time anomaly. We do know that Mira has a lot of strange things going on with it in terms of just the ability for people to share similar tongues, or just in terms of its time, so I'm not entirely sure, but it's wacky and kind of reminds me of a clock of sorts here. With this floating tower and block islands around it, it shares qualities with this continent on the northern hemisphere of this Mira sketch, so we could be heading further north since New LA, Cauldros, Primordia, and such can be spotted in the lower half of this image. Also, I could be crazy, scratch that, I am crazy. But does anybody remember that strange virus from Chapter 6 that is never elaborated on again in the main story? Well, this image of Mira shows a bunch of cracks in the planet with this purple-like gas seeping out. Part of me wants to think they are connected and would hope that this expansion will give more on that, but like I said, I'm gonna try to not get my hopes up. Alternatively, it's just Dark Gaia from Sonic Unleashed. But that about covers the major observations I wanted to go over. How do I feel after this trailer? Not too differently, admittedly. Nothing was incredibly surprising, but it was really cool to see the possibility that there will be new recruitable party members, and more details on what new land we will be exploring, as well as a look at what lies under the Black Knight's hood. Of course, I'm mostly excited to see what they do in this new story and how much it could improve X's narrative, because I think there's plenty that could be done. X's story leaves a lot of clues, but sometimes doesn't get that follow-up on them, and this feels like a good first step into doing so. Anyways, what are your thoughts? Are you more hyped for this announcement? Did you notice anything that I didn't mention in here? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I will be reading through them as I always do, and I am excited to see what you guys have to bring to the table here with this. Regarding other videos, I am currently halfway through editing another analysis video that you should be getting here by the end of the month. I'm very excited to share that with you guys. It is not Xenoblade themed, but if you like sci-fi titles, you like space and good narratives, I got you covered. And if you did enjoy listening to my early thoughts, as well as just this brief analysis, consider leaving a like on the video as it really does help out, and subscribing to the channel. That way when I have more content or analyses on Xenoblade or any other series come up, you'll be notified of that. But I have rambled on for too long. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you are having a wonderful day so far, and until next time.